so nice to see so many of you here to the last Pink Studio of 2018 on data-driven marketing. This is an independent slush side event, so we're happy to welcome lots of slushies here this morning as well. And we're going to dive deep into data this morning, so I hope the coffee was strong enough for a topic like that. Just a few practical questions. Please join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using the hashtag #PinkStudio. And ask questions there if you want to. We have the bathrooms here to the left of the stage, follow the sign, and the door code for the bathrooms is 2243, but everybody here can also help you with that if you forget. We're just going to quickly run through the schedule of the morning. Catherine Dieter, that's me, hello. We'll start with a brief presentation about Ping, what all of this is about, followed by our keynote from Dagmar, followed by the case presentations from our partners Meltwater, Mynewsdesk, and the F Company, and we will close the event with a great Q&A session where we will listen to 3 experts from slightly different fields, so that's going to be really, really interesting. But first of all, I would like to invite Antti Ojainen from Töölö Urban to tell us something about this beautiful space we're in here in Sofia Future Farm.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I was actually in a slush yesterday. It looked wonderful. Not that much people that in previous years, but I think still more beautiful than ever before. Great to see so many people here in this old building. Who would like to take a guess from which century this building is from? Anyone? Can hear? Yes, 1800. I think that old part was built in 1776, and they say that this wine cellar there beneath you, under you, is from 1600. Who has participated in judo? You know, wrestling, judo, wrestling? Has anyone? Good. There's the first Finnish judo hall has been in this building at that side. 5th floor. It was governed by the police department, which actually occupied this building in 1950s, I would say. And previously, before that time, this used to be a Stockman, the department house. And I think they were here for 70 years. There's still there's old directors' rooms are back there, and this elevator there is one of the oldest in the Finland. And this whole space is 3,000 square meters, and we actually occupy 4 different businesses here. One is co-working. It's targeted for 400 members. A common denominator would be creativity and freelances, and we would say that also this is a governmental area, so the cities and governmental departments, their people could have a B2B meetings here and also work here. So currently we have 100 persons in a co-working space, so still plenty of room left. We would like to see those 400 people here as soon as possible, because it's so great to work with all kind of different people. We don't have that many events yet here started. We have this Sofia speech, and it will continue in January regularly every week. Then we have a Funky Friday starting on Fridays, and that's afternoon sessions. Then there's a lot of member sessions, internal smaller groups. Then we have a 20-person advisory team who's all the time reinventing this space. So we don't have that clear concept. This advisory board and our members will form the concept. We also arrange a lot of weddings, B2B seminars, events, these kind of things. And we have a wellness club upstairs in the 5th or 6th floor, 5th, 6th, 6th floor. and there you can take a nap, half an hour nap, or you can have a yoga classes, 3 yoga classes next to you every week. It's 7, 8 in the morning and 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Lots of different kind of events. It's great to have you here. Please come here to eat in this bistro, or there's a Sofia Castro semi-fine dining place, 3 to 6 courses, 48-68 euros, not that expensive. It's wonderful food. It opened yesterday actually, and the people who were eating there really liked the food. We have 32 people working here, from which 15 are into this restaurant business, and all excellent people. Then we have 6 member people, 1 in a wellness, and rest in the B2B marketing things. Thank you. Welcome and have a good day.
Thank you. Yes, of course, we from Ping are maybe a little bit biased because we have our offices here. Also, some of our extended network work from here, and it's a fantastic place. The best thing is that you can have great food here and then go for a nap. What more do you need? Anyhow, we will start off the program with our very own Ina-Pirja Lahti from Ping, who's our head of inspiration and the heart and soul of everything. So take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. How are we? Let's give a hug or something to the people around us, okay? Something like notice the people around you, because even though we are talking about data today, it's all about humans. Perttu Pölönen, the futurist, said last week that, okay, we have been going through the technological revolution for the past years, but now we are going to the human revolution. So this is the reason why we creative people are here, why we are here forming the wonderful co-working space together with Sofia Future Farm, because the technology and data is nothing without people, without humans. And that's where we come into the picture. So Ping Helsinki, we have today here, I guess, quite many people who have never attended any Ping events. Please raise your hands if you have, this is your first Ping event. So, welcome to the Ping family. I'm so happy to see you all here. And the reason why the language today is English is, of course, SLUSH. I was there also yesterday, and I'm going back this afternoon, and it was really inspiring. But what Ping is doing, we are the leading influencer marketing agency in Finland. We want to be the glue between the companies and the influencers. Because even though you would have the entire data in the world about the influencers of the world, it's nothing without the real relations. We work with all kinds of influencers from all kinds of networks, and everything what we do are based in 2 things. One is the ethical correctness. We have developed the Ping Ethics, the ethical code, which you can take free of charge in your use, and we are going to develop it together with the industry also throughout next year. We are actually planning to launch a Somethics service so that it will be even wider and even more deep information about the social media influencer scene, and helping both the marketing people and the influencers to do better and more ethical content for the audiences. And also we believe in the data. We believe that it's very important to search out what kind of stories the people want to read, how the influencers are actually influencing. And we are very happy that Dagmar, who is today one of our partners, has been also concluded with us the influencer marketing study for 2 years. And why this is important today? It's important because the influencers are really redesigning the entire marketing field, and this business is going to be huge during the coming years. It's already growing very fast in many countries, and also in Finland we see now that it's not only about some random blog post or YouTube videos, but it's a strategic tool in the marketing mix for companies. And why it's working? It's working because I was just listening a wonderful influencer marketing podcast while biking here this morning, and they said that only 3% of the people who are there online are ready to purchase your product. 97% are like just there looking for information. So you should concentrate to tell those stories that the 97% want to read, that they are interested, so that then when they are ready to make the purchasing decision, they would choose your product or your services. And when we are asking the brands, also last year, 39% of the brands said that they would invest more in influencer marketing. This year, the same figure was 65%. And I believe, and what we see now, and I have understood that Dagmar has the same experience, the influencer marketing next year is going to be about strategy and performance. So it's not about celebrity deals. When we are talking about influencers, of course we have some celebrities who are also influencers. But actually today there was released an article about micro-influencers, and I believe that that's very important to know who are the real influencers for your product, your company, and what you could do with them. Right now, when brands were asked how they use influencer marketing, the three most used ways are, of course, to boost the brand awareness, to reach new audiences, and then to improve brand advocacy. But of course, there are also many other ways to use influencer cooperation. I was then also thinking that how we as influencer marketing company, or you as a company doing influencer marketing, could and should use the data. Of course, when we are doing the strategy, when we are planning it, of course, then it's very important to analyze the field and the consumer insight. But also that data gives a great opportunity to analyze the different influencers. And today we will hear a great example from Meltwater, who is our partner about in the influencer analysis, how their new tool, Claire, can be used when we are searching for relevant influencers. And then, of course, like when we are sharing the content, that's also very important. I always say that the producing of the content is only 20%. That you should use the time and money, 80% of your time and money for sharing the content, for planning how the content will actually reach the audience that you want to reach. And then, of course, you will need data to measure the goals, the reached goals of the campaigns and activities that you do. And this is just a few figures from our last spring study together with Dagmar, why this human-to-human marketing is a new way to affect people's attitudes. 20% trust advertising, but 44% trust bloggers. And over 80% have at least considered buying a product based on human-to-human marketing. The most important thing is, of course, that the content has to be relevant and it has to be presented in an interesting format. And today we will hear also a great example from F company, who is a really expert in presenting things in an interesting format and to find the ways how the content will reach out to the right audiences. And as I said in the beginning, the transparency and the ethics are really important. And we were, of course, very happy when Instagram launched 2 weeks ago that they will also concentrate now more and more to the fake followers, so that it would be easier for all of us to find those influencers who are actually real influencers. And that's also something that we believe, that to find out the right influencers, besides of the data, you have to know the people. You have to know the humans behind the channels and behind the social media accounts, because then you can actually know their values, what they actually are evaluating and how they can be valuable for your company. Because not every influencer and every company is a perfect match. And then, of course, you use the data for measuring. And what to measure when you are doing an influencer marketing campaign or influencer marketing cooperation? Of course, the reach and views, that's easy to measure, but that's not always relevant. The engagement is in most of the cases always relevant, as well as the traffic generated. And then we should not forget the earned media. And at Ping Helsinki, I will just show you quickly a few examples how we use the data. In our network, we have over 1,000 influencers, and this is not only data, those are people who we have hugged. So it's not only an Excel list of random influencers from Finland and around the world, but they are actually real people. And everything what we do with them is based to the Ping ethics, Ping metrics, ongoing discussion, and then real influencer relations. And our network is open to everybody. We have all channels, all topics, B2C, B2B, micro, macro, medium, and mega influencers, and also international. And we are also working with all kind of influencer marketing agencies. I believe that today we have here also quite few of you. Who are influencers today, by the way? Raise your hand if you are a social media influencer. So everybody who are looking for influencers or want to reach out their views, so then you should discuss with those people afterwards. And who are from influencer marketing agencies planning influencer marketing for companies? Dagmar, you can also raise your hand. You are like planning influencer marketing. So, we have lots of experts and specialists as a part of our network. And what we do, we do the human-to-human or influencer marketing strategies, and then we do the influencer analysis. And of course, in both works, we need then also the data to be proved. And we believe that the relationships are the essence of marketing, and especially of influencer marketing and of successful influencer marketing. And the system how we work in Ping Helsinki, our office is located here at Sofia Future Farm, and currently we have 6 influencer matchmakers working with our clients. And besides of Catherine, who is responsible for all our international clients, we have here Veera. Please show your face or something. We have Inari. Yes, and then of course Elina is working daily basis. Where are you? There, Elina is upstairs there. So we don't have some young students from Haaga-Helia taking care of your influencer relations, but we have the actual influencers taking care of your influencer relations, and that way we can secure that you have ongoing discussion going on with the influencer field. And then of course we have this great events. I am so happy that you are here this morning, and besides of Ping Studio, we have organized a Ping Festival now for 4 times, and I believe that also 2019 we will see something very surprising and new. And then we have of course tailor-made events. So if you have an event, if you have a launch, if you have an opening, if you have a premiere where you would like to see influencers attending, we have an influencer newsletter which goes monthly basis to 800 Finnish influencers, and we are happy to plan your events for your needs. And before we get going with the program, I have to show you the Ping Festival video, because that way you will get a very positive energy, I hope so.
The best thing with Ping Festival is definitely the networking. It's such a unique and exciting experience to be part of.
I just think Ping is such an important meeting place where influencers meet marketing people, and that might sound like a simple thing, but it's actually a very unique, special and important meeting.
just think it's like super inspiring when you have a whole room of people who are there like listening and trying to find like new ways of doing things.
I love the combination of the marketeers and the influencers being present at Ping Festival because the vibes are just great and it really gives a dynamic atmosphere.
I've never been to an event like this. I go to a lot of marketing and digital events, but the feeling in the audience is a little bit indescribable, and I know that could sound vague, but the excitement in the room is infectious. So come for the people.
Come for the people, that's our message. And we really hope that also this morning we will find learning, inspiration, networking and experiences. And that's what we want to offer you also throughout the next year. And we will also offer a new product called Ping Academy, where we want to educate you more in detail. Sorry, this is now in Finnish, because the first education is going to be in Finnish, but it will take place the 6th of February, and we are doing it in cooperation with Bonfire Agency, the leading B2B influencer marketing agency in Finland. And we will send you all more information and the link to the registration before everybody else. So you will have the first opportunity to register to this special education. And if needed, we are more than happy to organize this also in English in the future. But hey, let's create performance-driven influencer marketing for your company together, and let's hope that this morning will be very inspiring, full of new experiences and case studies for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Inna. All right, we will continue right away with our keynote. Our friends from Dagmar will tell us how they have been using data to create true value in content marketing. So please welcome with me Sami Aitovara and Julia Isoniemi.
Hi everyone. A few weeks ago we were invited here to talk about data-driven content marketing.
And we felt like being a bit rebellious would be nice for this event. So we changed it a bit.
We wanted to shift the focus a little bit. Let's talk about value-driven, but using data.
Yeah, we don't want to use data as it only data. We need to understand the data to actually create value. So that's something that we talk today.
And who are we? I'm Julia, and I work at Dagmar with content strategies. And I'm a former journalist, and I use that perspective every day in my work as a content marketer.
And I also work at Dagmar, and I work with data, analytics, technology. My background is in IT, so I've used to work with data. And nowadays, been 3 years at Dagmar, and a bit before also I've been working in marketing areas. So this is interesting area to actually use the data in a proper way.
Yeah, and quick note, please go now with your phones to screen.io/Dagmar, and you can ask and comment during the whole presentation over there.
So, what's value-driven? We said that we don't want to use just data-driven, because we want to understand the data. We want to understand what brings the value, what actually creates the value. Because when we're just doing data-driven, it could be that we're just repeating something that has happened, or we are just optimizing some part of the marketing, but we're not looking at the big picture.
Yeah, you could say that, like Inna said, that data is nothing without people. We could say that data is nothing without value.
Yeah, so if you don't consider the value, you're lost. And what is the value then? We need to consider the value towards the company who's actually doing the marketing. We have different metrics there. We can measure return of marketing investments. We can measure the customer lifetime value. We have different means to measure the value to company.
Yeah, but at the same time, don't forget the value for the customer, for the end user, for the people, for the ones who use the content. So, what is that value? How do you look into that?
Yeah, we need to remember that also. We need to measure the value that the customer gets. We need to remember the customer experience as a whole.
Yeah, but which one is more important?
I think we should combine those.
Yeah.
We need to have both directions considered when we are creating value. Because it could be quite empty without the other.
Yeah. You know, cat videos can be very valuable for the audiences, but they might not be very valuable for your business.
Or we could do very optimized tactical marketing, where we optimize it for the business efficiency purposes, but it could be that we are losing such big amount of potential if we're just doing some narrow way of marketing. We need to also consider, in that case, the brand creation and how we actually creating interest in those new potential customers.
Okay, so let's go a bit fast forward. So one thing we like to talk about is the customer journeys, because now we know what's valuable for your customer and we know what's valuable for your business. How do we bring these two things together? We could use the customer journey mapping.
Yeah, and we need to look the whole journey to actually create understanding of the journey. And we use methods like customer journey analytics to actually understand the meaning of each touch point during the journey. We need to understand the meaning for the company and also meaning for the customer.
Yeah, and also we have to understand the, like in moments of the customers. This is, what I'm talking about is like life moments. You've just bought an apartment. It's very important to know this thing. Or the daily events, the daily moments. What do you need at the moment? And those things you can search or look into with data. And then what's next? Not before this, you've looked into the data. You go and you make your great content. You have an idea of common interests. And then you can create the insightful content. But we think that it's not before you have the basis here.
Yeah, so now we come this path to actually understand what's valuable, and then on that state create the ideas, and then you have the content in place. But then what?
Yeah, we are not ready yet, actually. We're just getting to the best part.
Yeah, because we need to deliver the content. We need to make sure that the right people at the right time, at the right place, channel, moment gets our message.
Yeah, and you've heard this 100 times before, the right time and the right place, but what does it actually mean?
In my opinion, it means capabilities to go on one-to-one level. We need to find ways to talk directly to you, so that we can actually deliver the valuable content for the right person.
Okay, so let's start the construction, let's say. Now you have your insightful content, which you got from the basis, right? So what do we do now, Sami? Should we, do you have a recipe?
Let's measure it a bit.
Okay, let's measure it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's add up some analytics.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. With analytics, we can understand, okay, how many page visits do we have? What type of engagement do we have? Or is somebody sharing our post? We can analyze that, yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Do we get something cool?
But I think that we're not in the one-to-one context yet, because we're just analyzing the content that exists there. So we're still doing a one-to-many sort of mass marketing here.
Okay, well, let's try some technology and automation. Everybody's talking about that. Let's combine the insightful content with the tech and data.
Yeah, there we
can automation.
Yeah, there we can go a bit further. With that, I think we can have more capabilities to actually deliver the message. We have channels that are actually one-to-one channels. We can personalize the website. We can deliver email messaging. We can target quite well in when we are doing advertisement. So we are quite good in this. We are quite close to one-to-one, I guess.
Yeah, but we're not ready yet, because we think that this is actually just shooting without target, because we're not getting the real-time data, the real-time analytics data from, we're not searching into it.
So we need to combine a bit more then.
Yep. You're a smart audience, you know where we're going to. We're going here.
So when really combining the capabilities to deliver in technology-wise, and then to combine that with data and analytics, and when we are having the insightful content behind, then we can actually deliver value to customers in a way that the company gets value.
Yeah, and I just remind you that the insightful content here, it's not just and oivallos, it's just, it has the databases behind it. It's something more than just a good idea, a great idea. You remember the first part here.
Yeah, so I guess this summarizes quite well what we're aiming at. Yeah. And while going here, we of course achieve also something else.
Yeah, we thought about this picture and we thought that, oh my, we've come to the part that we have also created some delightful customer experience and strategic content and profitable business. So we've created quite of something.
Yeah. We think that with this picture, I think we're quite close to a situation where we want to be. So we create value to both sides, which gives possibilities for the future to actually continue doing it.
Yeah, and when we were talking about this, we also came into a conclusion, and we wanted to share the conclusion with you. And this is just a quick side note.
Yeah. So if we look at the top note there, just if we have just some content, so we don't have the insightful content that we would analyze what actually the customer wants or what's beneficial for the company to communicate. Then we just have one-to-one delivery. This is a situation where many times I get into this, that the customer says that, okay, we want to get technology in place, we want to set up the analytics and just start doing it in an efficient way.
Yeah,
but
because we already have the content. We have so much content. So we just need the automation pilot and we just need the analytics guy for us, and then we're ready, right? We think not. So don't go After this, don't rush to your office and say that now we need automation, now we need analytics, and we need to combine that with the content we already have, but do the baseline. Very good.
Yeah, I have to say, because I'm doing the technology and analytics, so don't forget that. But also remember to make great content.
Okay, so we just said that what you are not supposed to do. So what are you supposed to do? What are the steps you should do when you go back to your office? We made this very easy. It's a 5-step program.
So first, search the data. Understand how to actually create the value. What the customer wants, and then what the company needs.
Yeah, and then your goals and metrics, do them value-driven, not just any goals, not just any metrics that you've learned from somewhere or you've heard that they are good metrics.
Yeah, in that phase, consider already something that if you measure on tactical level, on operational level, think about how it actually delivers the business KPIs or the customer's success.
Yeah, and then it's time for the third part. So then you can go and create your insightful content. And this is the fun part, I think.
And then the boring part comes, set up the railway. Set up the technology to deliver the message. Set up the analytics to analyze the data.
I really think that this delivering is also the fun part, because it's really boring to put your nice content online and then realize that it's not reaching anyone. So I really like the railway thing also.
Yeah, and once you have everything in place, remember to measure. It's not enough to create insight at the starting point and then forget measuring it. You have to measure ongoing, continuously, so that you can optimize and you understand what the customer actually consumes, what the customer engages, and also so that make sure that your business is excelling, it's profitable.
Yeah. Thank you. So just one more thing. We want to know if this was valuable for you, because we didn't do this by the book, actually.
We didn't ask you in the beginning, what do you want to hear? We didn't do a survey where we analyzed the expectations. We just thought that, okay, data-driven, value-driven, okay, we talk about this. But was this good, informatic? Did you get something out of it?
Yeah, did we inspire you, or did you get the value out of this? You can comment here on screen.io/Dagmar, and I think we'll make a blog post or something about it later on.
We collect those and we find a way to respond to you guys.
Thank you.
If we have any questions in the room, now is your moment. Here we go.
I will raise the first question then. So can you give some great examples? I know that you are working with several thousands or hundreds of clients, at least in Finland, and most probably also with some international brands. How one brand has used successfully this kind of thinking of value-based and data-driven marketing and creativity?
It's not a everyday thing that we actually look this thoroughly from different angles. But we have cases where we, for example, use a lot of time to understand the customer, where we do a market study throughout we create a segmentation, for example. We understand the motives of customers. And then based on that, we start creating actually persona workshops where we try to understand better the audience. And then beside that, if we have the good business metrics in place, where we then start actually doing operational marketing and we measure it all the time, what's efficient and what's not. And we have great analytics skills in our company to analyze that. So I think that is something that we try to go this direction all the time. But of course, sometimes we do just narrow scope. But we have great cases where we have sort of the strategic motive-based understanding of customers, and then we create it from that.
We have another question. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe just it's a challenge for our customers also, and we try to answer that with good teamwork. Actually, it's very important that there's a data guy and there's a content guy in the same team, and that I think with that we can, challenge the customer, ask the right questions from them. That are you sure that this is enough? And I think that's the way to the right place.
Hi, Elina Heinonen is my name. I was wondering if your examples that you describe now are from the B2C or from B2B businesses, from which you have more experience of?
Both, a short answer.
And have you been able to, if like my interest is B2B, so have you been able to actually measure the business impact of your campaigns?
Actually, yesterday we came from one client. We had a 2-day business trip together. So we've been we're not yet there, but we're creating the basis actually right there. So let's see what happens with that customer. But Sami, do you like to add something?
Yeah. As Julia mentioned, we do both B2B and B2C. Traditionally, at Dagmar, we have more wider scope of customers in B2C, but of course we do also B2B. And there it's actually the utilization of data is a bit different than in consumer business, because there is a lot of history in sales analytics, understanding the sales funnel, and the thing what I have noted is that we need to maybe just combine the marketing analytics with the sales analytics, the understanding of both sides, because in many places we do sort of efficient marketing in B2B side, but then the path is cut and the sales starts, and we don't have end-to-end visibility to efficiency. So I think that's the challenge in B2B side. What we are now, for example, in this one case, we just had a marketing workshop where actually the most people that were present were salespeople. So that we are building the bridge between those. So I think that's the challenge, maybe measuring the campaigns in B2B.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm eager to hear your results, what comes out of that, and how we can take this B2B marketing and sales funnel also into this model that you presented.
Yeah, but there are good cases like account-based marketing type of things in B2B, but yeah.
Any more questions? All right, thank you both. Can we get a little applause for the two? Thank you. All right, now we all got a little bit of inspiration and a little lesson also on how it can be done. And next up we have a couple of case presentations from friends and companies who already have done it right. So here from Meltwater is Seni Niemi, who will tell us about the Meltwater tool and how you can use it for yourself.
Thank you. Let's see if this works. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be interesting because this is my first time presenting in English. So before I knew that it going to be in English, I was like, yeah, sure, I can come and talk about this. But then I heard that, okay, it's going to be in English, so I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. But if you don't understand me, please ask any questions that you have. So actually, I'm going to focus on data-driven influencer marketing today. I work at Meltwater. I'm the managing director of our social media unit here in Finland, and we actually launched our social influencers tool earlier this year. And what is interesting about that is that we can basically find every single influencer who has an open profile, either in Instagram, YouTube, or whatever. So it's pretty interesting. At the moment, there's 900 million profiles in the system and 60,000 different categories. So we are happy to work with that. So let's start. How can you actually benefit from data in influencer marketing? So first of all, of course, you can find more suitable brand matches for your brand. So for example, you can understand who are the micro or macro influencers that are already talking about us and also interacting with us. So for example, people that are liking our content that we are already providing. We can also do more credible marketing or influencer marketing with that data and so on. And what is actually interesting for me is that we can understand better what are the true demographics of one influencer, or if we choose, for example, 10 influencers into one campaign, what are the people that we're gonna reach with that campaign? We can also do different kind of comparing. So, for example, if the influencer agency is sending you like 10 different influencers that you can compare, like, okay, are these demographics the ones that we want to reach, or are these kind of content that the influencer is doing, is this something that we want to be associated with? And we can also see how the influencer is kind of trending. So if the engagement that she's doing, is it going up or is it going down? So we can search for those influencers that are hot at the moment. And with data, of course, you can save a lot of your time and also, I'll say, money. So you can get better results. When you're thinking about influencer marketing and data-driven influencer marketing, there's 3 different aspects in that. So first of all, finding the influencers. We have had some really interesting conversations with our clients. We've been searching for welding influencers. We've been searching for vegan influencers. I also find a category named divorce. So you can imagine that there's some interesting names in divorce kind of category of influencers. Then you can do evaluations. So if you find a new influencer for you that you haven't been in contact with, you don't know the reach of that influencer, you don't know the demographics or the content, then you can use data to analyze what is going on and what are the subjects that specific influencer is interested about. And thirdly, of course, metrics and measurements. So we're going to focus on these 3. There's 3 different case examples for me today. First one was a client of ours here in Finland, and they are providing products for parents of newborn babies. And for them, because they haven't been doing any influencer marketing before, it was really hard to find those right contacts. So what we did, we used our tool, of course, and we did this with 3 different ways. So first of all, we know the relevant hashtags for those that are having babies during this autumn. So we used the hashtag search, and then we just filtered that, okay, we want to see influencers that are this age or from this city or something like that, that are mentioning these kind of hashtags that are relevant. Those who speak Finnish understand what means lokakuiset 2018. Then we also used relevant categories, for example, moms and parents, and then we dug into their content that they've been doing recently. So if we saw that they had a recent post about a baby, then we knew that, okay, these might be good influencers for us. And we also searched for influencers that were interacting with brands that were relevant at that point of time. So influencers that were interacting with manufacturers of baby clothes, they were maybe talking about some brands or trolleys or whatever. So these were 3 ways that we used. And the outcome was that this specific client was able to find the best matches for their campaign. And of course, because I feel that we should always think about the value that we can bring to also the client, but also the influencer, not only to the brand. So we were able to get those influencers that we really wanted to the campaign. We were able to have those involved because the influencer felt that, okay, this is relevant content for me to share in this point of my life. Then the next case example, this is actually from Sweden. So this is a big grocery store chain in Sweden, and they have done influencer campaigns, and the main way for them is to do cooperations with those influencers that are contacting them. But the problem with this was that it's pretty time-consuming to get to know every of those influencers that are contacting them. And in this case, they actually get a suggestion from one influencer that had a lot of followers, and they were like, okay, we really like the content, we really like all of the things that we can see in the profile, but the price is like way too high for us. And we used our tool to see what kind of demographics this specific influencer actually has. And okay, the grocery chain is only operating in Sweden, and with our tool, we were able to understand that 50% of the influencers' followers were not actually from Sweden. So based on that, the client was able to negotiate a better deal for them, because they are like, okay, we want to use your channels. Sounds ridiculous, but we want to do cooperations with you, but the pricing is too high based on the demographics that your channels really has. Then the third case example. This is actually case Meltwater. So I have my colleagues here. Maybe some of you guys know Meltwater at this point, but we have a lot of employees that are really committed to our brand, and they like to share their daily day work and after works and everything like that. And for us, of course, it's really, really nice when the employees are doing that, but the main thing is that we feel that when they are doing those post and talking positively about Meltwater, it's the best marketing that we can have for our own employee branding. And maybe 50% of all the new employees come from referrals and so on. So we really wanted to understand what is the reach that we can get throughout our own employees. And outcome was that I did a campaign with my colleagues, and then I was starting to monitor what are the things that they are posting about Meltwater. You can see some posts from my colleagues here, and we were able to understand the true value of those posts. And we could also use this for rewarding our own employees, like, okay, you are the most active one, or you are the one who's doing the best content, or something like that. So that's it for me. And if you are an influencer, you can, verify your own account. So you can log into our system and see your own influencer card that you can use also for your own campaigns, or maybe even if you're selling new campaigns to clients, you can show that this is the engagement, this is the true reach that I can have in my channels. And also, if you are a brand or an agency, we know that some of you guys already use our service, but if you would like to see a demo, we are happy to do that. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Do we have questions for Seni? Yes, I will give this to you so I can run over.
Thanks, hello. I'm a bit interested about the first case about the baby and pregnancy thing, and you said that you were looking for, one of the ways was looking for the micro-influencers, and you said that you looked through those Facebook pages with the groups of lokakuiset 2018 and like that. So did you just go like through them and see who was participating a lot, or did you have some knowledge who is a micro-influencer, or do you just think that micro-influencer is just one person who participates a lot on that page or something?
Yeah, in that case we actually used Instagram. So we searched for those people that were doing their own post with this hashtag. And in our system there's like 4 different categories. So there's celebrities, which are the biggest ones, then there's macro influencers, micro influencers, and then there's like this normal person who has maybe 100 to 500 followers. So we use those 2 middle categories to find those.
So they weren't all like pro influencers, but
No.
just the ones who likes to post about those things and participate?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
More questions? Yes?
Hi, I'm interested in how you see those nano or micro influencers who have a private profile. Do you ever propose to them when it's like some baby products or something? I think most of the valuable influencers or micro-influencers have a closed account. So do you ever do something to propose to them?
That's a tricky question, because we all the data that we gather is public. So if the influencer has like closed down profile, it's not possible for us to find. Of course, if we personally know that specific person, we could ask he or her to open the profile. But otherwise, we don't really have the tools to do that in the private profiles. And I think for privacy shields and everything like that, it's also a good thing that you can choose if you want to be open or closed profile.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Seni.
Thank you.
We've all been sitting for a while. Okay, so high five the person on your right side. Very nice. Thank you very much. You may sit down again. Yes, this was just a tiny introduction. I know that there's some of you who signed up for the yoga session later as well, but it's good to get a little moving. Moving on, speaking of which, Mynewsdesk is up next, who are true professionals in digital marketing and PR. And we have Esa here with us today, who will share some insights from the Mynewsdesk playbook.
That's right. Good morning, everyone. Actually, Catherine stole my thing, because I like to do that get up, stand up as well to wake you up, but hopefully you had enough coffee. So my name is Esa, and a fun fact about my name, according to data, my name is on average around 57 years old, so hopefully I don't look like that, but that's the data. So what does Mynewsdesk do? A short introduction, of course, through some numbers. We work with our mission that there's a world where no story goes, first of all, untold, but on the second part, no story goes unheard. So we provide our customers with possibilities to actually tell their stories through different means. And this is just numbers about us, what we do on a global scale, so don't worry. This is not only in Finnish. We're not going to be publishing around 200,000 press releases just in Finland. On top of this, we do a lot of media monitoring through Mention, which we acquired quite recently. So I want to flip it a bit, go directly to the outcome, what can happen when you get your PR right, your communications, and your marketing right. I don't know how many of you have seen these Hövding helmets in Finland. Anyone? Actually, quite many. I was surprised, because I've only seen one at a friend. It's a very nice photo what happens, and they've actually done very good video marketing as well, how it works. So, of course, this is not only because of PR, but it played a very big role in all this. And this is something that most C-level people are quite often interested. Let me know if you disagree, but what can happen when you get your PR right is that you actually generate 77% more sales. This is something that most C-level people should at least be interested and are, and when you can show this, you kind of know that there is a meaning for your PR. And they did it very data-driven as well. When we dig a bit deeper into the data, I'm not going to challenge Dagmar's views on value-driven. I'm going to take a bit of a data-driven insight as well. So thinking about your content, thinking about what you're doing in your PR, communications, and marketing, I want to just pinpoint the importance of the subscription economy. So when you publish through email, for example, you kind of can guess that when you use your own contact lists and so on, the email open rate is actually not going to be that big. It's around every fifth, every fourth, around 23%. But when you create engaging content, which is, again, value-driven, you can actually increase the open rate of your emails, and engaging content becomes more interesting for your followers. So how much do you think it's going to increase? Is it going to be 100%? Is it going to be maybe 80? It's around 40%. So it is a lot better, almost double the email open rate when you get people to follow you, when you create content that actually engages with your audience and your customers. This is maybe one of the questions that we receive the most at Mynewsdesk as well, when people and customers are publishing press releases. So what's the time when I should publish a press release? What's the day? So when thinking of when most press releases and content is maybe consumed, so basically read, it's actually Wednesday. Not a big surprise. But the thing is also that, I'm kind of lying there, it's not green because the colors, but actually Wednesday is also the day that most material is published. So that means that everyone else is doing the same thing. The most material is published on Wednesday, although the most material is also read on Wednesday. So when you actually dig a bit deeper into the data, you can see the whole week. What's the day that most material is published? What's the day that most material is consumed? So you can see a huge opportunity in the weekend. There is a lot of consumption of material also during the weekends. So don't think only about your own actions, but think, when it comes to data, about what your competitors are doing. What's going out there besides your own bubble? So there is, as said, a huge possibility for weekend publishing, also when it comes to press releases and your own stories. You can dig a bit deeper as well to actual hour of day when you should publish. I don't know how many of you actually commute by train. Maybe half, maybe more. But every morning that I take the train, I think the commuter train is actually the most quiet place during my whole day. You know why? This is what everyone does. Everyone is looking at their phone. Everyone is reading social media, reading their email, reading something. So when you pinpoint that actually there is quite a lot of consumption of your material during the commuting hours, that might be a trigger for you to actually use that data to start publishing material between maybe 7 and 8, or even after 5. Even for press releases, some of the most engaging content happens after 5 p.m. So you can use this data to optimize your publishing time as well. Then we can get to the actual content. So now you've actually decided a bit on when should I do things. But what's the content? What kind of content should I publish? So we actually analyzed the length of the headlines of the most successful press releases and stories that we had. How many of you think that it's more than 10 words? This is in Finnish. Anyone? Just a show of hands. More than 10 words in Finnish. Less than 5? All right, I'm kind of leading you a bit because it's on average around 7 words. In English, this was around 13 words. This is very language specific, so keep that in mind when creating your content and using that data, that there is a bit more under that thing as well. In Finnish, we can see some lovely words that are very, very long, and we use these combination of different words, which are just counted as one word. So having all this measurement, I just want to pinpoint a customer of ours who's had the most traffic, who's at the newsroom with the most traffic throughout the whole of 2018. I do know that there's still some weeks of this year left, but I don't think they're going to be, the #1 position is going to be in anyone else. But actually, the newsroom with the most traffic is from Broman Group. How many of you know Broman Group? Not too many, but if I say Motonet, that maybe rings a bit more bell. So they've had some engaging content in their own press room, in their own newsroom, in their own website, and basically just a short quote from Tommy as well is that it also is a platform for internal communications. So they do a bit of both. So those are some tips that you should maybe measure when it comes to data. How long my content should be, when should I publish, what should I do? Some other things that you could start measuring when it comes to your own publishing. Is it brand awareness that you want to measure? Is it something that you want to increase? Is it asset traffic? Do you want to generate more traffic into your own website, your own social media, and all this? Is it conversions? Is it influence pipeline? Or is it about the sentiment that's being discussed about you? So you can basically start measuring all of these and use that data to influence your own actions. If through media monitoring you kind of notice that, hey, the general sentiment about us is very negative, we should maybe do something about it. Start tracking where that comes from, what the conversation are about, and start doing your marketing in order to increase your sentiment to a more positive way. Our recent survey actually shows that strategy is the #1 thing that most storytellers, most brand marketers struggle a bit about. It's something that is seen maybe a bit of a big thing, but it doesn't have to be. So, as said, as Dagmar also pinpointed out, it's actually pretty easy to do, and there are just some steps. The thing that you need to keep in mind is that it's a continuous cycle that you need to do when it comes to your data strategy as well. So defining audience, determining goals, and so on, and using that data that you gather to actually influence your own things. So, just to sum it all up, what you can maybe bring home, for example, or to your workplace, you don't have to take your work home, don't take my word for it. First, define what matters to you. What do you want your marketing, your data-driven marketing to actually achieve? Is it more new customers? Is it customer loyalty? Is it whatever you want to measure and whatever matters to you? Just define that first. And then I want to say, start small. There's lots of data that you can gather, whether it's about your own actions, whether it's about your competitors, whether it's about anything. Start small. Define those things that you want to measure and start with those. And last but not least, find a balance between short-term and long-term doing, between external and internal resources. between analyzing and measuring, between anything. And here, maybe the short-term, long-term thing is the most crucial one. Because, for example, our marketing works in 2-week sprints. They work so agile that it's kind of baffling to me as well. And maybe 10 to 15 years ago, marketing departments used to do 5-year plans. Nowadays, it's sometimes even difficult to see to the next quarter. But you need to keep that big picture in mind and also develop your data strategy and your marketing strategy to actually support the whole company strategy as well. I just want to end this with a saying that a very wise man once said, data, 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 I cannot make bricks without clay. I would maybe want to buy lunch to the person who knows who said this. Does anyone have an idea? Who wants a free lunch? He's not the one that I had in mind. He might have said this, but from... I have another person in mind. I actually have this person in mind. You might recognize him with his hat. So it's actually Sherlock Holmes or Sir Arthur Conan Doyle who said this. And what it brings to me is that actually data is still just material. You need that data to build something bigger. With just data, as Inna said, as Dagmar people said, data is just data. You need people to analyze it. You need to do something with that data. You can gather quite a lot of data, but if that doesn't influence any actions, there's not much to be done. So you need that data to build something bigger. Thanks.
Thank you. It's a great way to end the presentation. I'm sure there are questions. Oh, come on, people, don't disappoint me here. Well, I guess that means it was a very good presentation.
Inna always has some questions.
Of course. I'm sure you all have also, but you can still think a little bit more.
Yeah, and you can come after me and pull my sleeve and you can ask any questions if it's all right.
But do you have like a brand, some other like brands here in Finland or something else that could have used, for example, this opportunity to publish something or to share the content in like a random time?
I do see every now and then, because I get, in a way, I get all those press releases to my own email. So sometimes even on a Friday night at 9, I do get some press releases into my email. During weekends as well, so there is a lot of that thing. But still quite often it's seen that press releases are something you need to publish those on a Wednesday or a Monday between 7 to 9, and that's it. You kind of don't have the same thing in PR. In marketing and communications, you are maybe a bit more creative. You do things in random times. But PR is still maybe seen a bit traditional in a way. And that's something that we want to change as well.
Hi. Did you measure your click-through rate from those newsletters that you presented? You first said that when they started subscribing, it rose from 23 to 40. Yep. But did you see some difference between the click-through rates when the subscribers, when thinking of the subscribers?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is possible to measure that, but still quite often, of course, the email material, as it's press releases, there's, in a way, not that much to click. So that's the thing. But it is possible to measure that. That's a very good point. We might be looking a little bit more. But sometimes the content is such that there is just nothing to click, so it's kind of hard to measure.
Anything else? Well, then I have a question. It's a bit sneaky because we talked about this before. But do you think in what you showed us about the publishing schedules that there are differences from different countries? Like we talked about that Finns definitely won't read any emails on a Friday after 4. Is it different in other countries?
It might be. That's a very politically correct answer, I guess. But here I want to just emphasize the meaning of content. And I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's in the night or during a weekend. If the content is something that engages your audience, something that's interesting, I don't think that the time of publishing does actually matter that much. You get it to your email. Of course, if you're a journalist, You might actually tell with your journalist background how many press releases, how much content do you get to your journalist email? I'm guessing it's quite a lot. Just hard to tell any numbers, but still, if the content is engaging, I don't think it matters by country or by time as well.
Thank you. If we have no more questions, then you are dismissed. Thank you very much. All right. And to wrap up our case presentations, I would like to invite David Blinov on stage from the F Company, that's a digital marketing agency focused on growth, relying on impactful technology, close collaborations with their customers, and experiment-driven campaigns. So I'm very curious to hear more about that. The stage is yours.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's the clicker. Okay, awesome. Funny story, guys. I found out today in the morning our presentation had to be moved from Keynote to Google Slides, and you know what happens to the design when you do that. So we have this beautiful, beautiful designer who makes amazing things. Ravi, if you're watching right now, not my fault, it's all Google. It's totally not me. But the content is still great, so let's just get straight to it. Very happy to be here. Exciting stuff, beautiful venue. Congratulations, this looks very nice. I'm David Blinov, and I'm from the F Company, and if I click this, something should happen, and it did. I'm from the F Company, and we're a digital agency based in Helsinki and Amsterdam. And we are focused on something a little bit different. We're trying to help companies find new ways to grow, and we do it through marketing technology and data. You know, for me as a marketer, data is amazing. It's a beautiful thing. It gives you insights. It helps you find the right direction. And then when you combine it with marketing technology, it helps you reach people in meaningful and personalized new ways, which I think is very relevant to everyone in the Ping community. So data is great, data is important, and I'm here to show you a case study about how building a data-driven process can have a lot of impact in a short period of time. So let me introduce the company that we'll be talking about here. Meet Pricom. Pricom is one of Finland's leading video conferencing solution suppliers, B2B company. And what they do is they come into your business and they make sure that everything from software to devices to meeting rooms is working flawlessly. They make sure that your meetings are 100% successful. Now, the company's been in the business for over decades. They work with some of the largest companies in Finland. And they're very smart guys, they're very talented, but they've noticed that in the last couple of years, their sales sort of flatlined, right? There was no growth happening. And they started thinking, why is it so that we're pushing all of this money into marketing, all of these resources, and we're trying all of these new things, marketing automation, influencer marketing, content, video, you name it. They've tried it, and it didn't work, it didn't move the needle. So they came to us and they said, can you help us, first of all, understand what is going on? Why are we not growing? And then secondly, can you help us get back on that track for growth? And we started thinking, so how do we approach that? Because we had a very limited amount of time. It was a pilot project. And it's very interesting because Ian today said that data is nothing without people. And then Julia said that data is nothing without value. Well, we think that data is nothing without a process. It's about how you use the data and what you do with it to find the answers that you want. So we started with a process. And this slide is particularly butchered, but you can still get the point. So we started with a process, and this is a very big picture of what we did. And I'm going to take you through it step by step to show you the kind of thinking that we had and the kind of results that we got in the end. So deep understanding, experimentation through data, and then scaling. So let's start step by step. We have the deep understanding here. And the reason why it's important is because when we talk to marketers and we ask them, so what's the problem? What's the biggest challenge that you have? And people tell us different things. Like, for example, our pages are not performing well enough, or our ad campaigns are not delivering the results that we want. And then a logical thing for a marketer to do would be to go and try and fix that problem. You know, optimize your ad campaigns, for example, maybe change the creatives a little bit. But the challenge with that is that most of the time you would be focusing on the symptom and not the disease, not the underlying problem, right? So, for example, if we're talking about the poorly performing ad campaigns, A reason for that could be the fact that you don't have marketing data attribution between the tools and channels. So your campaigns might be fantastic and beautiful, beautiful images, some nice influencer works on it, but if you don't actually understand what has the biggest impact on your bottom line from those campaigns, it means you're spending the time and the resources on the wrong things. And only if you had that data in place and you took the action based on that data, those same campaigns could be performing 2 or 3 or 4 times better. So that's why we need to have this super deep understanding of the issue before we go and fix it. So when it came to PryCon, we actually spent the first couple of weeks of the project diving very deep into the data, running workshops with the team, talking to the sales and marketing, until we felt that we have a good understanding of what the bottom of the iceberg actually is when it comes to PryCon. Now, once we had that understanding, what we had to do is come up with a few ideas about how we can solve those problems. And we call those ideas hypotheses. And we came up with about 20 or 25 of those. And I'm going to show you just a few to give you an understanding of how it worked. So first of all, are we actually targeting the right buyer personas? They've been talking to the same people for a number of years, but who are we to say that the buyer persona hasn't changed over the years? So what if we could take data and prove that their buyer persona is correct, or maybe that it needs to be adjusted or even changed completely? And then talking about messaging, how do we know that the things that PryCon was saying 2 or 3 years ago are still relevant today? The markets are changing, the customers' needs and wants and wishes are changing. So what if we could try different types of messaging and creatives, collect data and see what could be improved and what works better? Then the third point, what if we took all PryCon's data, all their marketing data, all their sales data, and we pulled it in one place and we used it to make messaging more personalized and more meaningful? And then finally, what other digital channels can we use to reach our audience? Because we know that these days there are hundreds of channels. There are hundreds of things you can try. You can collect the data and see what works and what doesn't. So we came up with about 20 or 25 of these. And what we did is we tested them. We tested them at the same time against each other. And I'm going to show you just a few of the results. So when it comes to testing the buyer personas and the messaging, of course, you need to run some campaigns. But instead of launching 3 or 4 or 5 campaigns, we launched 120 campaigns across 50 different landing pages at the same time. And the reason we needed so many is because we wanted to collect as much data as possible and learn as much as we could about who the best buyers would be and what's the best way to talk to them. And we used automated tools that would follow performance triggers for each one of these campaigns and automatically switch off the ones that were not performing to the level that we expected. And then what happened after a few weeks of these campaigns being run is that we were left with just a few of them. Out of the original 120, we had about 8 or 9 left. And the beautiful thing is that those were the best performing campaigns, showing the best possible messages to the best possible audience. Now, talking about channels, and this is especially low resolution, thanks to Google. Especially low resolution, but you can still probably guess what I'm talking about. So, as I mentioned before, there are hundreds of different channels that PryCon hasn't tried. And what we wanted to do is collect data, as much data as we could, about different channels to see if they would work better than what PryCon had done before. And what we learned pretty quickly is that most of the channels are really not working. But the beautiful thing was that some of them were working really, really well. They were working better than what PryCon had done before, and we could even combine them and take some channels, use them at the top of the funnel, and then at the bottom of the funnel use something else, and then get high-quality, low-cost leads as a result. And that's what data showed us. And then talking about demographics as well, when we were generating leads through this process for PryCon, we were collecting hundreds of data points on each one. We wanted to learn about what kind of people they are, where they work, where they study, what concerns them, what interests they have. And we used that information to personalize the entire customer journey from the moment they get into our system. So everyone would get the type of message that is interesting to that particular person. So if you're interested in the tech side of video conferencing solutions, the content you would see from us would be about that. If you're interested about the leadership and how you could be an effective leader and run meetings in your company, then the content you would see would be about that. So we built a personal PryCon brand for every single person we had in our database using data. Now, so we were running these experiments at the same time for a number of weeks, and we were collecting data as we went along. We were improving, turning off what doesn't work, and scaled what did work. And the exciting thing was that we learned 100 things that don't work for Priacom at all. But then we found a handful of things that worked really, really well. And we used that handful to grow their business. So as we were doing this stuff, you can see the chart here. The red line is the cost per lead. And the cost per lead was going radically down. And at the same time, with the same budget, the number of leads we were generating for them was going up, which is, of course, a beautiful thing for marketers to see. And the results were very good. So in just a few short weeks, we managed to get Priacom 13 times more B2B leads than they used to have, with a comparable increase in sales-ready leads. And this is going to be the best sales year for Priacom ever. Obviously, very good result. They're very happy. But, you know, money is great, leads are great, but for a marketer, what's really important is the data and information that we collected. Because we're now going to take that data and we're going to start a longer project with them where we overhaul their entire marketing and their entire business based on those learnings that we collected. So if you only learn one thing from this, is that none of this would be possible if we did things the old-fashioned way. And here's why. When we came up with those hypotheses, those ideas that we had, we kind of tried to guess which ones of them would work, you know, based on our decades of marketing experience and how smart we are and our intuition. But the reality was that the ones that we thought were the sure thing, most of them actually failed completely based on data at the end of the campaign. So what that tells us is that if we had done things the normal way, which is try to come up with a really cool idea and then launch it and then wait to see if it works or doesn't, we would have failed. We would have wasted the time and the money of the client. Nobody wants that. But because we didn't trust our intuition, we trusted the data and we trusted the process, we were able to get the results that we got in a very short period of time. So guys, if you learn one thing from this, is that you should let data guide your decisions. And you should have a process to follow. Understand your starting point. Go through the data that you have. And don't just look at the surface. Try to dig really deep and understand what's the bottom of the iceberg there. If you can't do it yourself, get an analyst. Put an analyst on your data. Give them some time. Give them time to find those insights. Then create marketing experiments and set measurable KPIs. Run them against each other. See what works and what doesn't. And then use data to determine what you should scale in the end. Because that's how you stay competitive in modern marketing. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. There's a case study on our website that you can download. And come and talk to me. Come to talk to my colleague Mikko, who would love to talk about your marketing. Cheers.
Until then, do we have questions?
Hello, my name is Maria. I was wondering, did you do this in Finland? So.
Yes.
Yeah. If you did it on Facebook, how do you feel? Because I have a really love-hate relationship with Facebook concerning that they don't open their algorithms, or it's very easy to understand that the location and the age and so on. But if you start, targeting with the interests, they don't really tell you what they're basing it on. Yeah. Do you have any insight concerning this? How did you kind of, consider that fact?
Yeah, absolutely. There are different limitations that channels have. And the thing that helped us a lot is the fact that we tested multiple different channels. We collected data from those channels, and we used a combination of them at different stages. So at one point, you can use Facebook at the top of the funnel stage to raise awareness. But then you can use something else, let's say LinkedIn or some completely different channel that allows you much deeper customization to actually do the lead generation in the end. But the important thing is that you try to combine that data so that you get the most complete picture you can get. And then you can also use that data to nurture the people further on and tell them exactly what they want to hear when they want to hear it.
Anyone else? Okay, I see you've all been saving your questions for the Q&A, which is to follow. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
All right, for our last segment of today's Pink Studio, we're gonna make this a little bit more interactive even. Sorry. Yes, we are very happy to have 3 experts on the field of digital marketing here with us today. I'm not going to say too much because I'm hoping that they will introduce themselves a little bit as I invite them up onto the stage. We have Bonnie Murphy here with us, first time at a Ping studio and new to the whole Ping thing for us. Then we have Salla Erkela from Dagmar, and we've been hearing the word influencer so much today, so we couldn't leave you without hearing from one of those. So we're very happy to have Jennifer here with us today, but yes, introduce yourselves, welcome on stage. You each get one. Thank you. All right, here we go. Jennifer, do you want to start?
Okay, so I'm a Swedish blogger and marketing consultant living in Helsinki since a few years back, and a year ago I quit my job at a startup to run my own business full-time, and 50% is the blogging part and 50% is other marketing-related stuff. And it's super exciting to be here because using data and analyzing as an influencer is still quite new, so I'm excited to talk more about this.
Hi everyone, my name is Bonnie. My background is mostly in research, so ranging from academic to really business, market research, that kind of thing, so I'm a big data nerd, of course. I'm new to Helsinki. I just moved here over the summer. I'm Canadian, actually. So before I left Canada, I was working in a digital agency in the consumer insights team. So really excited to be here, learn more about the Helsinki digital marketing scene and learn about Ping. So yeah, happy to be here.
Hello, everybody. I'm also from Dagmar, as my 2 colleagues here before. We are the biggest media and marketing agency in Finland, and I'm in charge of influencer marketing at Dagmar. So hopefully going to give something concrete about what we do in influencer marketing with our brands.
Thank you. Did any of those introductions already spark any questions? All right, I will open this up. We've now been talking so much about data, but also what we heard about the importance of people, which brings us also to creativity. So how do you think you can leverage data to be more creative in your organization and to create campaigns and ideas around that?
If I start, for us in Dagmar, every creative insight is actually based on data. So we don't just do fun stuff. We do it based on data. So that's probably the easy answer.
Yeah, I would say I have the same experience working on an agency side. Definitely, usually creative has data involved at some point. I think data, though, can be really beneficial when you're going through that creative process because it can often kind of level set and kind of give you a scaffolding or framework to kind of jump off of. I mean, I think sometimes when you want to come up with a really big idea, that's exciting, but where do you start? So if you have a bit of data to kind of go on, that can be so helpful in kind of getting the wheels turning and making sure you're kind of not going off the rails kind of too far in one direction.
And I can take it from the influencer side then. I was actually asking this question in this organization I'm involved in Sweden, so it's a lot of different influencers. Some are like bigger channels and some are smaller, and I wanted to ask if people were using data and how they used to also like come up with new ideas and make like new content. And I didn't get much replies, so I understood that, okay, people don't seem to be so well into this yet, but what people actually said that I just want to create content that's fun. That's my driving force. And I thought like, well, they don't, like, it doesn't have to be either or. You can look at the data and create content that's fun. But I think people and influencers still need to discover this, that how they can use the data from previous posts and from their readers to make even
better content, which is still fun to create.
Yeah, and from our point of view, like without data, you're just somebody with an opinion. So we need to, data is a great argument for our clients and also for influencers as well.
Thank you. Does anyone want to interject here? I think you all need to get another cup of coffee, my friends.
I would like to know what kind of data you are using and give some concrete examples, each of you. Like, what is the data and how you did it for some brand or campaign?
Sure, I could maybe start off. So for me, we were doing primarily kind of primary research, so talking directly to the consumers. So again, I was working more on market research and UX, and we were fortunate enough to have consumer panels. So we had this big group of about 1,500 Gen Pop US consumers, and that was our primary data source. And then we do surveys, interviews, we do discussions, we do online journals, we kind of track them every day. We did lots of different creative things to kind of get different kinds of data. And then we would take that and work together with our analytics teams, marketing science, SEO. We had social listening departments. So really trying to bring all of that together to kind of create a holistic picture. So I would say, for me personally, it was much more that primary survey-based data. However, it was always part of a much bigger picture. And I think it was pretty rare for us just to work kind of on one channel and only consider one point of data.
Yeah, I agree. Consumer insight is probably the biggest database for us as well, and we also do quite a lot of segmentations for our clients, and that's a great base to see what kind of people we want to reach and talk to, what are the things that make them tick, and that's a great base for then planning content. And also all kind of like search data analysis, of course, what kind of content they want to search and find and look for example, those. And as well, we also study the influencers that we are proposing to our clients also in the target groups. So we can get verified results that these people are the ones we should use.
Yeah, and as an influencer, I guess it becomes a little bit more basic. But you also have great data that you should be studying, and one thing you can start doing is making a survey among your readers. I know that not every blogger or Instagrammer or YouTuber do this, and you have this loyal audience who would be happy to answer all these questions, so you should really take that opportunity and do that. And then the other thing is, of course, study the analytics, look into Google Analytics, what content are people reading, and at what time of the year, where do they come from, and so quite on the basic side, but as a blogger or other type of influencer, if you start doing this, you will have a great advantage because not everyone is doing it yet.
And I might just jump in on that because I think you raise a really good point. I know in my experience, one of the biggest challenges or criticisms we would face when we were doing stuff with a panel or consumer panel was, who are these people? Because very often there's a perception that it's some crazy cat lady that makes candles in her spare time and is not who you really want to be talking to because they're professional survey takers. And I think influencers have this amazing community, and I think it's really interesting where that's going to go with polls and questions on Instagram, those stickers, but I think there's a lot of power there, and when done correctly, there's something really cool about how you can use an influencer for market research done in the right way. But yeah, I think that's definitely where the future may be for a lot of market research.
Yeah, and I agree. Also, the best campaigns we've done have used consumer insight that we are generated through influencers.
And sharing the information between the company and the influencer is also really great. For example, that the influencer, of course, give the report after the campaign, but also that the influencer asks the company, so how did it go? What data can I get from you? How many people actually use the promo code? Because this is also so valuable as an influencer that you need to get that information when you can.
Hello, I have a question. How would you do the survey? I mean, of course, there are plenty of different ways, but what would you recommend, for example, if a company wants to get to know who are the Instagram followers? Would you ask question here, question there, and slowly gather the information? Would you try to get the people to go fill in the Google form, or like what would be your tip?
You mean as a company wanting to survey the followers?
Yeah, for example, to get the insight of who actually follows them.
Yeah, that's a little bit more tricky because maybe you don't have as loyal followers as an influencer. So you might want to give something that, hey, you will get this coupon code or you will get this cool thing if you fill out this survey. Like give them some initiative to do it. And then, yeah, sure, a Google form or SurveyMonkey or whatever. But I think it's easier for an influencer to do the survey because people are happy to, oh, she actually wants to know what I think. So a little trickier for companies.
Hi, I'm Richard. Quick question. I've been getting too many emails as cold call influencers. What do you say to them? What would you do? Like, I'm getting 10 emails a day that we're this kind of group or this influencer on Instagram. Should I reply to them or just move on and get a company like yourselves to help?
I would say absolutely reply, because that's also your reputation in line, as well as all of those who want to work with you. Always, always, always reply to them, because you never know where they're gonna pop up next time. But if you're not sure whether you should start working with them, you could ask the data. So that's the headline of today. So you could ask what kind of audiences they can reach, how would they see they could benefit your business, because that's what you want, of course. That's like two basic things I would start with.
Yeah, I'd also just add in maybe asking them how they're engaging with their community. So beyond just a simple post, I mean, are they having any sort of competitions, or are they doing Google question or Instagram questions already, or what are they already doing? So you can kind of see what their base might be used to, and then that may give you a bit of an idea of what you could do with them as well.
Yeah, great ideas, and definitely reply, and you can just maybe create like a quite standardized as a beginning, because then if you ask them for a media kit, like data, their numbers, and also what concrete idea do they actually have for this campaign, they can give just a brief of that, and maybe also mention their prices, so you will know if it's relevant for your budget.
Next question. Well, while we were speaking about media kits and approaching companies, for example, Jennifer, when you pitch companies or brands that you want to work with, how do you do it, and what data do you use to make a case for yourself?
I'm a terrible salesperson, but I still manage to do some sales, and I do it mostly over email. It works on smaller campaigns, but for bigger campaigns you might want to suggest a meeting. But I always start, I mean, that's my personal approach, because I have a soft approach. I start quite short email to see if they are interested, but then in already the second I try to come with this concrete idea to make them understand that, hey, I really want to work with you, and because I can integrate it in this way, and not just like a general because I just want money for my business. So how to create value basically for the readers, and if I have a case from before, I always show that, and I can send them the post that this is what I've done before, or this is how it engaged previously. Yeah, and I've also actually taken help from a salesperson externally now, so yeah, I can recommend that as well.
For you two, from an agency's brand perspective, what kind of data is relevant for you when you would work together with Jennifer, for example? So I'm just trying to figure out what the influencers can do to actually really create the data in a sales pitch, for example.
I think I'd want to know, my main thing is making sure they really understand their audience, and because at the end of the day you want to make sure you're talking to the right people. So I'd say as much as possible I'd be looking for details on who these people are, so whether that's simply demographics and those high-level analytics, or if they can give you anything deeper about perhaps the behaviors, the attitudes, the perceptions, the brands that they're following, maybe how what you're doing is different from competitors or other influencers that are kind of in a similar space. Those would be some things I'd be looking for.
Yeah, I agree. Of course, reach, engagement are those like the easiest numbers to provide, but the key thing is to know how you can make your audience tick and how you can get them start talking and that kind of stuff, and also what makes you different from the others.
I feel like that a lot of influencers rely on the brands to look into their data without providing them. And I wonder why that is. Why do you think, Jennifer, why are so many people still afraid to use the data that they have already anyway?
I think it's a lack of knowledge that the influencer work started as and it still is like a lot of about passion, and you want to make fun stuff, and you just started and suddenly you had all these followers wanting to know about your life. So you didn't have the business aspect from the start. It came afterwards, and we're still working on making this industry even more professional, teaching other influencers that you need to have the media kit and how to pitch yourself, and it's not about getting free stuff and all that kind of thing. So I think it's like knowledge and learning and understanding, also from the company view. I've worked within companies where we've also done influencer marketing, so I know the other side, but many influencers haven't, so they don't really know about it.
Any more questions?
I would at least hear like from each of you like 3 things that every market decision maker should take away from here, like when they are planning their strategy for next year, so that from your point of view, what are the most important things if you want to combine data and creativity?
I can start. I'll try. Well, I guess kind of as I've already mentioned, I think one would be really trying not to get too stuck in just the analytics or those numbers. I think, and it's hard to do, but as much as possible, trying to bring in data from other areas. So if you can get any consumer sentiment, so some of that qualitative information, if you can somehow actually have an interview or talk directly to your consumer, just to start to kind of layer in more information and bring that data alive and build out those personas a little bit more, I think that would be really helpful. I think from the F company, it was mentioned having a good research process where going into it, you have a very clear question, you kind of know what the hypothesis is that you're interested in, and starting from there rather than just diving into a whole bunch of data without any idea of really what you want from it, and then importantly coming back to that later. So continually updating those personas, checking back in with your data, not just leaving it and then coming back to it 2 years later, because it'll be out of date for sure. And I'll come back to you on number 3.
I can pick from here. I would say that make your goals clear, keep them clear, work towards them in a long term, remember your target groups and utilize that data, and also remember the creativity and the value you have to provide.
And for influencers, I would say that make a survey among your readers. Set up your Google Analytics. You may not even have it installed, or it may not be working, and it might seem or feel very scary, but just do it. Take help from someone, ask a friend who knows about it, or read my blog posts or something. And then create a good media kit where you can present the data that you have to the companies that you want to work with.
Some more questions. Come on, it's your chance. Everybody's so shy today. There we go. Thank you.
You know, all the new laws that just come in, and Facebook and all them, they're all scrambling to change the new laws, and Instagram, you have to have this now if you're an influencer. Is that going to change many businesses' perspectives on using them, since they have to have so many stupid rules they have to follow? Is that going to change anything in the next year? Because I read Facebook's changing something with Instagram, Instagram's changing something else, Twitter's doing the same. Is that going to affect anything? All the new laws coming in from the companies, the rules, you could say.
Well, I believe that great content always wins, no matter what. And those that are professionals will get more professional, and those that are doing just for fun and like with their left hand are going to drop out. So it's probably a good thing.
I mean, I think from the consumer's point of view, some of, all the privacy issues that are coming up and the new rules and how that's impacting things is certainly going to change the landscape a bit. I think trust is a huge issue when you're asking people to give them your personal data, and I think, again, that's kind of where some of this influencer marketing is really interesting, because if they're already following this person, they probably have already bought into them a lot more than if it's just some anonymous Google survey that pops up on a website. So I think it is going to have a role. I think it's going to make people maybe a little bit more skeptical and critical about the questions they're answering and why they're answering them and what's happening with that data. But I think there it's like even more important to have the buy-in and have that community and have them trust who's the person that's asking the questions. So that's where I think influencers, again, could be very powerful.
That was a good question. We always struggle with different APIs and the data that we can actually get to build our cases. So I'm also curious to see where that goes and what it does for influencer marketing. Thank you for the question. Do we have anything else? Well, in that case, I think we can wrap it up for today. Almost. Wait. Almost back. Thank you, Jennifer, Bonnie, and Salla. It was really, really interesting to hear from you. I'm sure you will still be around for those who didn't dare to ask their question. Thank you very much. Of course, we also care about getting some data from you, mainly because we want to improve and get better. So we will send a little survey your way this afternoon to hear what you thought about today. But now I would like to invite our own Inna back on stage to tell you more about what's coming.
First of all, thanks so much for joining this morning, and thanks for our amazing partners, Mynewsdesk, the F company, Meltwater, and Dagmar, who made this morning possible. And we really hope that we are able to enjoy this Ping Studios free of charge events for all participants also next year. And that's where we need you. We need partners for next year Ping Studios. We have already decided that the next Ping Studio will take place in the end of January with the theme of growth. We will take the look to the trends and topics, what's cooking 2019. And for that studio, we still have 3 spots left for new partners, because we just decided yesterday that it will take place there. And we can also decide if it's going to be in English or in Finnish. So maybe that's something that we will also ask in the questionnaire. So this time, I think, how many of you understands only English, or maybe like not understand Finnish, I mean? Yeah? We have like audience who needs this in English. But anyhow, then we will also go on with the academy, and we are also open for all other kind of ideas, and I really hope that we are going to see you around. And thanks for Catherine hosting, Vera for tweeting, and everybody for joining. And if you got an idea, did you get a new idea this morning? How many of you did? Okay, please tweet it. Use the hashtag Ping Studio. And see you next year, and enjoy SLUSH, everybody who is going to the SLUSH. Thank you.